Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Bulldags Hunter, and today I want to teach you how to become a hero in your next small gang roam, or how to just improve your solo PvP game. So today I'm going to be going over how to hunt, how to use your dscan efficiently to find targets, how to use different in-game tools and third-party tools to be able to find more content. I want to touch on the different nullsec anomalies and what people usually run and why. So let's dive right in. So learning how to hunt and scout is really a great way to be more useful as a newer player, as you really only need an interceptor or some kind of fast ship to be able to be pretty effective at it. As long as you can find targets quickly and catch them and hold them enough time for everybody else to show up, everybody's gonna love you, because you can go out and roam for hours. If you don't have a good hunter, you're not gonna get any kills, and it's not gonna be a good time. So it's really good to learn how to hunt and be good at that. And it's also more entertaining than just being DPS and, you know, following along with the rest of the gang. You're actually out ahead, jumping around, looking for some people to fight and trying to get some kind of action. But I'm going to be going at this at a solo PvP perspective, at least to teach you the basics. So here I am in Jita, and I am going to form a fleet because I'm going to be yeeting. And I had to re-record this because I got into a fight and died right off the bat on that last yeet. That can be a bonus clip at the end of that fight. But okay, so I'm now going to use my Signal 5 Needlejack filament to yeet into a random nullsec system. So you go ahead and use it, hit activate. You have to be in a fleet for it to work, and it will yeet you into a random nullsec system. So the first thing I do whenever I get into a new system is you check local, see how many people are there. There's 6 people in local. You do a 360-degree scan at the full 14.3 AU range, and you see who's around. So we have multiple ishtars out here ratting. The next thing you want to do is take a look at the main bank value. The main bank value is 80 mils, so that means there is currently active PvE happening in the system. So then below the main bank value, you can check the time to the next payout. So it pays out every 2.5 hours, I believe. So if this timer is 100, there's still an hour and 40 minutes left. So if there's 80 mil in the bank, then there's some actual active PvE happening. As you can see, there's 5 ishtars in this system that are currently ratting. And then from that point, you can go down to your angle and range. And there's 2 different ways to go about this, because whenever you get into some of these systems that have high ADM values, there could be so many anomalies in the system, just like this one's pretty high. So when there's all these different systems or anomalies in system, it's pretty hard to pick out the right one right off the bat. Because most of the time people are going to be running havens or sanctums, because those 2 drop 10-10 escalations, which are the most valuable type of escalation. So people usually want to run the havens and the sanctums over any of the other systems. So your main people you're going to be finding are going to be Praxis, Ishtars, Gilas, and occasionally Vexers for like a lower SP, more AFK crabbing type of ship. So I was a little slow here. Everybody docked up or got back to the station. So this is actually pretty convenient. I've been in this system long enough that I actually broke their bots. So they actually went back to ratting, even though I'm still sitting here. So I'm going to be able to show you how to narrow down using the range and just by doing the shotgun method. So by doing the shotgun method, you're just going to check all the havens, and right off the bat there's an ishtar right there in that haven. So I'm just holding V and clicking on these anomalies in this list, and then I will scan in that direction. So then this RWG, there's also an ishtar in this haven. SUO, there's also an ishtar in that haven. And then, like before, these other two havens are empty. So then I'm going to go and I'm going to do it using the incremental change in distance. So I'm scanning here at 14.3 AU. I have everybody. I'm going to knock it down to 10 AU. I still have this ishtar on scan. I pop down to 5. He's still on scan. So then I can start turning it down even lower. 2.5, he's still there. 1.8, he's still there. And he's gone at 0.8. Up with the 1.2, he's back. 1, he's gone. He's there at 1.2. So then I'm going to knock down my angle to 5 degrees. And I'm going to look and see what's between 1.2 and 1 AU. There's this haven here. There he is. So that is the way to narrow it down by range for these systems that have, you know, higher ADM and lots of anomalies. So those are the two main ways to find ships using your dscan. And this is actually going to be a useful skill for either hunting or scouting, because the concept remains the same whether you are looking for ratting ships or PvP ships. It's just where you're looking will change. Whether you're, you know, where you're looking at combat anomalies, you'll instead be checking gates and checking, you know, Athenors and the keep stars and different Anzablexes and things like that, instead of trying to, you know, check anomalies. But let's say we jumped into this system and local was empty and there wasn't anybody here. The next thing that I would do to try and find content would be to go to the agency tab, or Alt-M key. You can go to exploration tab in here and then scroll over to the encounter surveillance system tab. And this is a good in-game tool to find pretty much systems that have higher ESS bank values that are nearby. So you get this little filter screen. I usually keep mine at 10 jumps for whenever I'm eating, and I usually put the minimum main bank value to 10 million because that just gets rid of a lot of the junk. You know, somebody just killed a gate rat and that's about it. So I can go down this list of different systems and see that, you know, there's MTech EE about 9 jumps away with 120 bill in it. You know, C2X 6 jumps away with 90.83, 140 mil here in YXIB. So there's some systems actually quite close to me with some decent amount of ratting happening around me. So I could either just start jumping around to these. I mean, Fortech H, which is Frat's staging system. It's got 160 mil in it. So, I mean, this is a good way to go to try and find content. Just start heading towards these higher bank values, and there's probably going to be people ratting in them to try and fight. The biggest problem with this method, though, is, you know, since they pay out every 2.5 hours, it's really hard to tell. There's no way to tell, really, if how current these numbers are. If somebody ratted for 30 minutes, an hour and a half ago, and then quit, they still would show up on this map. Then the other way to use to find content, I use a third-party tool called DOTLAN. evemaps.dotlan.net. I can put the link for that in the description. So I usually always have DOTLAN open, and whenever I will yeet into a new location, I will usually type in, one of the first things I do is I'll check DOTLAN. So I'll type in the name of the system that I landed in, I'll search it and find where I'm at, And then there's a couple metrics that I look at first. I usually look at jumps first, because jumps will tell you what systems are having the most active traffic between them. So you can usually tell where like ansiblexes are. If there's no jumps in between these, there's probably an ansiblex between two systems that are a highway for the locals to jump through and avoid these systems. But the higher number of jumps usually means there's going to be more people. So if you're trying to go pick a fight with somebody, I usually gravitate towards these higher jump systems to try and find people that are willing to fight. But then the other way to go about it, if you're purely looking for non-consensual PvP, would be to go and look at your NPC kills and NPC kills delta. So your NPC kills is how many, it's like the average in the last hour of kills in a system. NPC kills. So these higher numbers mean that there's probably ratting happening in these systems. So then you can go and look at the NPC delta, because that does not let you know how recent that information is. So the NPC delta is the difference in kills from the last hour. So, you know, the scenes here in XV Tech 8 is that there's 480 more NPCs killed this hour than there was the last hour. So that means multiple people started ratting, probably a bunch of bots. But we already know this since we jumped into that system with the 5 ishtars ratting about an hour ago. But there's a considerable amount of ratting that started happening here in the last hour. If something's really red, that means that, you know, somebody probably just stopped ratting in this system recently. So the NPC kills went down drastically. And then some of these numbers that are more in the middle, like 72, 52, that's a little bit more tricky. But if you go back to the NPC kills, you can see, you know, PM is 188 and WB5R is 52. And if you go back to the delta, there's not a huge difference there. So there's probably somebody just steady ratting at you know, the same pace that they have been. So there's not an increase in ratting or a decrease in ratting. So usually you want to try and gravitate towards some of these systems that have green on them. So like this plus 480, that means that these 5 ishtars just started ratting here probably in the last hour or so. But alright guys, I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like, and feel free to comment with any questions or requests for more information if you want to see another video. And I'm going to leave the video to my death that occurred while I was filming this as a little bonus after this. Thanks. So, like, right off the bat, there's one in a sanctum, or in one of the havens. We're just going to warp to him. He's an ishtar. But, getting a little ahead of myself. So you do this 360-degree scan. You can narrow that down to 5 degrees to pinpoint exactly where you want to scan. And then you can hold the V key and then click in a direction. And you will go in that direction. So here I am actually catching an ishtar right off the bat. I'm going to tackle him, start orbiting, and I'm going to point him and start applying damage. So today I'm using a Kikimora because it is one of my favorite ships for this kind of activity. Because when you spool up your damage, you're doing almost 700 DPS, which is pretty good. But it is usually enough DPS to break even these really tanky ishtars. As this damage starts ramping up, I should start beating him. And in this case, you want to keep scanning with your dscan constantly, just to see if anybody's coming to help this guy. You start seeing combat ships on your dscan. But this is it. You pretty much catch them and hold them, and hopefully you will be able to get some kills for your team. So my damage ramping up to 650 now. He's starting to break. I'm going to throw some heat into him to get a little extra damage. As we can see, he's pretty AFK right now, so his drones are not fast enough to keep up with me, even though I don't go that fast. If he were smart, he would abandon these wasps, and he would put out some light drones to fight me. Because he's... Actually, it's mainly the rats that are hitting me right now. It's actually pretty annoying. But it should be not enough, because he's starting to go down hard. And our damage here is peaked at 650 DPS. He might be overheating some things right now, if he's catching up a little bit. But I'm actually not getting hit by these drones much now. I'm going to take a little heat off of him while he's putting heat into his mods. Which does take me down. Actually, I might run out of cap here. So I'm going to go back into putting heat into him. Yes, and he was smart and he swapped out his heavy drones for light drones, which might be enough. Uh-oh. Ah,